everybody, welcome to Talking Cars with Consumer Reports. I'm Tom Muchler.
I'm John Lincove.
And I'm Ryan Pulikowski.
I want to welcome Ryan to this episode of the podcast. What do you do here at the track?
Well, I test tires with Gene Peterson, and I do a lot of track testing for the cars also.
Right, so, on this episode, we're going to talk, because the gray, dreary winter weather is coming to the Connecticut test track, we're going to talk about something happy. Sports cars.
Yeah.
Exactly. First car we're going to talk about is the Ford Fiesta St. Ryan did the road test video on that car. I want to play a little clip of how we ended that video.
So yeah, we have a few gripes, but in the end, when a car is this fun to drive, it just doesn't matter.
Well, as we saw in that video, it says a lot to say that you can basically give up this car's shortcomings that it's so much fun to drive. What makes it that fun?
Well, for me, it's like a little rally car for the street. I mean, it's tight steering, it's small, nimble. It's got just enough power. You know, it's the right amount of power for that kind of a car. And you know, looking back at the Focus, it's what the Focus
ST.
Yeah, the Focus ST. It's what the Focus wasn't. I thought the Focus was going to be more along those lines, and this fills in that gap perfectly. So,
what'd you think?
Well, you know, I think that it's so much closer to the GTI feel than what the Focus ST was. The Focus ST, the Volkswagen GTI. You know, that you just have a lot of usable power, but it's not overwhelming. The Focus ST, you know, was spinning the wheels. You feel like you're going to torque steer off into the gutter, you know, off into the side of the road. You know, driving in the track was fun, but driving on regular streets wasn't that enjoyable. Tearing around in that car with my two kids in the back, it has usable power. It's much like a Miata. Yes.
You are a bad parent.
I'm an awful parent. Well, I put my son in the front of the Cayman, so we'll
talk about in the frunk.
In the frunk. Yeah, he was right in the front.
So he's safe. He's not going anywhere.
Totally safe and quiet. I couldn't hear him yell. But anyway, that car, it's just great. You know, it's like a Miata. You know, you got a lot of power.
I do like the Miata.
But not so much that you're just like, this is boring.
So is this a better balanced car? Is that
and
what really
it's literally
gets at
better balance and handling too. I mean, the Focus on the track is sideways everywhere.
You can drift it.
Right.
It's a front drive drift car.
That's only fun for so long, and this is just a much
better.
Don't
tell that to Jake.
Well, yeah. But this is just a better balance of a car, and it rides better, I think, on the road than the Focus. I mean, it's just no.
The ride still isn't great.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
No, it's not great. Like I said in the video, there's things that it's not perfect.
No.
It doesn't do everything very, perfect, but it's so fun that you can look right over those things. So.
It's a little sad. I am the resident doubting Thomas.
Yeah, well, it goes with the name.
It does, exactly. You know, and I mean, this is a great fun car, but man, I can't get over the damn seats.
Yeah, well.
I'm a car enthusiast, and Recaro seats are supposed to be, they're like catnip. They're supposed to be terrific.
Oh, yeah.
And these seats, they're torturous.
Yeah. The upper half of the seat is okay for me. It's the bottom. I mean, I'm meaty legs, maybe. I don't know, but I feel like I'm stuck like this the whole time. And
they're like a vice.
Yeah, and it's okay. It's okay on the track because I guess you want to be held together well. But just driving around town, it's too much for me.
I could deal with these seats better than the Focus ST.
Right.
The optional Recaro.
The optional Recaros that we had in that car. You know, it seemed like the leading edge was a little too high for me in the Focus. It was a little better in this one. If I own this, I would try to see how I could lower the front more, whether there's spacers or something.
Yeah.
I would love to see the standard
sports
seats in the Fiesta St.
Yeah, which is going to save you $2,000.
Exactly. Maybe a little less confining, but still sporty. Right. Probably like the old Focus SVT seats, you know? I know it gets Tom going.
Well, see, look, I mean, I love Ford's European inspired performance cars. When I bought my Infiniti G20T, I almost bought an SVT Contour. I almost traded my Passat wagon on an SVT Focus. I loved the SVT Focus, and you could get that with Recaros in the optional Euro appearance package, which is a great name for an option package. Yes. But those Recaros were nice.
Yeah.
I think they were like Model Cs or something. They gave you the big bolsters, but they didn't grab you like this. And I haven't gained weight.
Yep.
In the 10 years. Actually, I'm 5 pounds less. Thank you, plant-based diet.
Right.
So that's all good. But they're just abusive. But also, if you skip buying those seats in this car, you can buy this for $22,000.
Right, and that's awesome.
It's a steal.
That's
it's a
awesome.
Steal. Yeah, it is. It's what people thought. you're going to see these cars kind of come in at when the Focus was first talked about, and it's much more expensive. It's a much higher price point.
Right.
And then you add in things like the seats and such. I loved it. I don't know if this size car would be great for a family.
Right.
I was putting a lot of stuff in the back.
Seat.
There's not back seat, and then there's not a lot of hatch room for groceries and stuff.
Right.
Just stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a fun little car.
Oh, it's a blast.
It's great. I had it for 4 or 5 days. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Another blast, but certainly, my God, nowhere near as affordable as this car. We had a Jaguar F-Type press car. So it sounds like you enjoyed that.
Yeah.
That little giggle was.
I was talking to one of our colleagues the other day, and it is by far the best sounding car I've ever driven. Period. The note that comes out of that exhaust is unbelievable.
You want to argue? I hear you.
No. I'm
I heard
kind of.
The backfires are like gunshots. I mean, it is.
See, it's funny. We were talking about that though. So many cars now have this almost computerized program backfire. It's common now almost in high performance cars.
Is it a cliche now?
Is it expected? Is it much like the trumpeted in sounds from the engine? Like the BMW does.
What else backfires? The Abarth?
The Abarth has the backfire. And then
I think
we
had driven a new Volkswagen GTI.
That's what it was. The GTI does that with the downshifts and such. With the shifts.
Yeah.
So it's nice. It sounds great. The Abarth gets very tiring.
Yeah.
On a daily basis. It's just one of those things that was very funny. Sounds, it sounds a hell of a lot better, in my opinion, than like a Viper V10. It's an awesome sound. Yeah. It's kind of Corvette-y. I like that a lot. It's almost like the English Corvette, in my opinion. But,
But you start this car anywhere around the track, and you know where it is.
Oh, yeah.
It echoes.
Yeah.
And that's cool for the first day or two. And I'm going to confess, I love Jaguars. This is a guilty secret of Consumer Reports' cold heart tester. I love Jaguars. They look different. They drive. The recent ones drive nice, and I love them because I don't have to afford them or get them fixed.
Yeah,
get them fixed is right. Yeah.
They come kind of with Jaguar's really good. They'll pick the car up at your house. It's kind of like the extended mobility device. It's called a flatbed, a Jaredan, if you've seen, because you do see that often.
The dealer service gets raves. I think they just topped some JD Power survey for dealerships, which you're probably visiting it a lot.
Yeah,
but this car, you start it. Here's an example of the true life of Tom Mutchler.
All right, let's hear it.
Here we go. I hope it's exciting. It's exciting. My wife and I go to Whole Foods.
Oh, of course.
On the weekend to go grocery shopping.
Okay.
She takes the cute little cart back. I start the car. People are diving behind their Priuses to hide, And she's like, everyone turns and looks. And, there's no slinking around with this. There's no discretion.
And it's a slick car with other things like the display that rises up out of the dash, the door handles that pop out of the flood.
The vents come out of the dash.
The vents, and then the door handles rotate out, these little levers. This is a car, it has the show and the go, really.
There's a lot of show, but it's got a lot of go. You were drifting around the track. What's it like to drift?
Oh, it has enough power to just send the rear end right around on you. And Joe and I took it out, and
Joe Veslak, who was on our Abarth episode.
Joe Veslak and I took it out, and we were out there. We each did like 3 laps, and then it was like, we got to put this away because there'll be no tires left. It's just
that's a sign of a good car.
Yeah, the FRS, we have fun with the FRS, but it doesn't have the power. There's more speed involved to get it to do that. But this brings me back to like the G37.
The Infiniti G37.
It just has the power. You step on the throttle, and it just rotates, and it's. It can bite your head off if you're not paying attention, but it's pretty easy to drive.
You could tell the rear is going to go first, and then it's going to progressively come around with the front following, but it wants to. It's slight lift off the throttle, and you already feel that going around. And that's almost like the old 911 feel, the old Porsche 911 feel, the modern car now, for goodness sake.
This is turning off the stability control.
Yeah, it's like turning off the stability control, but you really have to try with the grip of the modern 911. The old ones, you just lift off and it goes around. That's what the Jag feels a lot like. Yeah. You really want to drive that with, at least in like race mode.
There's no reason to turn off the stability in that car. You'll have no tires left.
Yeah, that's it. But if you can afford a Jag, you're buying tires.
Yeah, this Jag was over $100,000.
Oh yeah.
So.
It goes like hell.
Go Jaguar.
Yes,
we had a S version, which is I think 495 horsepower.
Yes,
it's supercharged. pile of power. Fun, glad we could borrow that. What I was also glad that we've had a bunch of awesome press cars recently. You know, it makes me happy to have this job.
Yes.
We had a Porsche Cayman S.
Yep.
Now, what'd you think of that?
That's a new, maybe best handling car
You think?
that I've ever driven. Yeah. That's
What makes it so good?
I mean, it's a box. The Boxster was awesome. This is a better Boxster in my eyes. I mean, the steering is just like razor sharp. It's just right there, and it's balanced. I mean, we had the Porsche guys were here, and we went. We did a ride and drive with them, and we were, pushing that car hard. And that was my first time on the track with the car, and it was just like no big deal. It's easy. It's easy to drive. It goes where you steer it.
You drove it a lot.
It does, yeah. First of all, there's a lot of talk about move to electric power steering with the Boxster and the 911 and the Cayman, and you know what? It's splitting hairs when you're first talking about it. They still have really great direct steering. Maybe lost a little bit, but still, it's fantastic. What I found is, like you said, it goes where you're pointing it. You have a lot of confidence. It has a lot of mechanical grip. Things like the rev match just make it so much easier to take into a corner. You're not worried about heel toe.
It works well.
You can easily heel toe, but you're just popping it down from fourth to third, right there. Smooth transitions. It encourages you to build power. Fun car, really fun. I've always liked that. The 911's always been that kind of tricky handling, scary, and also it has limits that aren't really attainable except on a test track.
Right.
The Cayman S. Driving it around, it's fun. Yeah, certainly you get in ticket speed very quickly, but it didn't feel like you were puttering when you look down and you're doing 85 miles an hour. And that's what I felt like in past 911s.
Right.
Once again, I need to assume the role of doubting Thomas. There is a bit of a value proposition problem here. The press car we had was, I believe, around $75,000. We had a whole debate in the cafeteria of, would you pay 75 if you had the money? Would you pay 75 grand
for that?
Yeah.
For the Cayman?
Yeah. That's a long sigh.
I'd buy a used 911.
Oh.
I would.
We'll talk about the 911 a bit more in this episode.
Yeah.
But
we'll go there
the thing is, of course, Jake's like, I'd buy an FRS, and which.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for what you're using it
doesn't have the refinement or the.
75, that's a lot of money.
75 is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. It gets that whole argument of like, well, you could buy a Miata, and if you're driving it around 40 miles an hour, it's just as fun as a 911 because that doesn't do anything until 80. But I would probably judiciously choose options. Maybe we don't need the 18-way heated and cooled power seats.
Whoa!
I know. But what I'm saying, you could pick and choose your options. It's still an expensive car to get into. It's a different level. But you know what? Someone looking at a Hyundai Accent or a Civic or something is going to look and go like, well, why do you need an Avalon? My car's just so big and expensive. Like,
well, that's fair. We're playing debate club.
Yeah.
Which is damn fun to play.
If I was in that realm, I like the Cayman. I would look at a Cayman and drive. I might bump up to the S and then keep the kids out of
that. Cayman did have a $7,000 stereo in it.
Right.
Which wasn't very good from what
I don't hear
well.
I don't hear well. So
this is a stereo right here in a Cayman. Okay,
yeah,
it's a flat six.
And from a lot of road noise too. I thought.
Yeah. But rather than playing debate club over the value of the Cayman, we actually buy some cars here at Consumer Reports, and $73,000 bought that. It bought a Corvette Stingray C7.
Yep. LT3.
LT3. Z51.
And probably the most annoying 2 days of my life of trying to find it. Well, not of my life. I did get divorced. But anyway, let's just go somewhere else.
That explains Angry John.
Yes, it does. It was one of these things where, the car. So to disclose, my dad works with the National Corvette Museum. So
he bought our Z06.
He bought our Z06.
That we had and loved.
That we had and ate the tires of.
He still has it, right?
He still has it. Yep.
That was a blast.
Track day car.
That was a fun car.
It's a great car. But he's telling me, the museum's across the street from the factory, not affiliated with GM, by the way. They've got the cars. They're all building them. They're pumping them out, and they're going to go on sale September 30th.
So we think that should be easy, right?
You think it should be easy, right? No. First of all, small dealers aren't getting Z51s, from what I heard. Small dealers already, a lot of them had their 1 or 2 allocation pre-sold. So you're stuck finding these big dealers like Kerbeck in Atlantic City.
So you wind up having to go to there are like 5 #1 top selling Corvette
Right. They're always
dealers.
fighting. They're always fighting by one car. We're the #1, and then we're the #1. So you found one in Rhode Island, and then
Yeah, I love hunting for cars.
Yep.
And the C7, this Corvette, there's been so much hype, and they're selling for how much over sticker?
They were selling, I think, $5,000 to $7,000 to $10,000 over sticker. There was one that was in Connecticut that was, I think, $7,000 over sticker for a much lower spec car. So it was close to the price of this one.
Because we actually found one for MSRP.
MSRP, dealer in New Hampshire, huge dealership. Called up, they said, yep, we got it. I said, I will be there tomorrow. Gabe Schenhar and I drove up, we raced up in our Ford Fusion, paid. It was a real simple process because it's New Hampshire, no tax. Gave him a check for the sticker price.
Live free or die.
Exactly.
Yeah, all right, New
Gave me
Hampshire.
the keys, explained the couple of the things of the car. We don't pay tax, but it just made it so much easier. Temporary plate for 30 days, it was ours.
No, I mean, it's loaded
Yes.
as part of that. I mean, it's got
Suede and the leather packages.
It's got 2 roofs. I mean,
2 roofs, carbon fiber and the transparent roof. It even comes with these brake cooling rings that you put on the rotors when you're on track days. So, I mean, there's a lot with this car. Navigation, we got the magnetic ride suspension, so it's pretty loaded. It is kind of what you see in a lot of the buff books, though.
Yeah.
This is pretty much like a press car.
It's not the guy who's going to treat himself with a Corvette.
Yep.
That's what he's going to get. Have you driven it? What'd you think?
The Corvette?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a blast. I mean, it's probably more than I would need on the street. I mean, you get into trouble really quick with that.
You do. If the roads are wet,
and this time of year.
You need
it.
to,
But it's 7 speeds. I mean, I drove that thing. I've driven it like 3 times now, and I don't think I've ever used 7th gear.
You don't need 7 speeds.
I mean,
in a
I was
Corvette.
hard pressed to go in 6. Yeah, it had long legs as it was. I don't know why they did that.
You can start in 3rd.
Right.
You need like 3, 5.
Well, you're going to get fuel economy gearing for, loping along.
But even still, I felt like I was lugging it at 75, 80 miles an hour in 7th gear.
It doesn't seem to mind it that much.
Well, yeah.
Well, it doesn't sound good.
No,
I mean, this is a car that does sound good when it sounds good.
Oh, yeah.
Because, of course, we have the upgraded exhaust.
The upgrade is up for 5 more horsepower.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, it is a Corvette. It's so much more modern, so it has the old, it's your low slung, long view over the hood, you're kind of in a cockpit, but certainly far more upgraded materials.
The interior is much better.
Yeah.
But you hit on something that people don't realize in these, the eternal Corvette Porsche 911 comparisons. These cars have a tremendously different feel to them.
Yeah.
I mean, and a lot of it can boil down to personal taste. I mean, you can take it out on a track, you can get the numbers, but a lot of it, the buying decision is going to boil down to personal taste.
Yeah.
And speaking of the buying decision, we bought ourselves a Porsche 911.
We did.
And you did that deal. What is it like to go buy a 911? Sir, I wish to purchase a motor car. You have a monocle. Will you take a steam locomotive by non-trade?
It was an interesting process. I was shocked when I got Gabe Schenhar sent me an email, said, I need you to buy.
Gabe is responsible for us. He tells us to buy all the cars.
Yeah, and he said, we need this Carrera S. And at first I thought it was a joke. I mean, I'm 27-year-old kid. Like, I didn't think that was going to work out so well, And so I go, lo and behold.
You actually went into a dealer. Normally we buy cars online.
Right, yeah. Usually, and I've never bought a car probably over 40, 50 grand. So, for the work here. And
it's an intimidating process.
Yeah,
especially with a car like a Porsche.
Right. Yeah, and I love Porsches. I'm not gonna lie to you, but so first thing I do is I start looking because I'm excited. So I start looking around, and I end up I find what we are looking for pretty close at Hoffman, right up in Hartford. And
it's tricky to find what we're looking for because 911, any Porsche, Porsches are like. They add,
oh my God.
We're complaining about the option prices on this thing.
You sneeze and it's 30 grand.
This is a blue light special compared to buying a 911.
Yeah, and I, the price Gabe had, and I'm looking at that, and I don't know where he got that number from. I mean,
he builds a car online, and we only want the performance options.
Right.
We don't want the key fob that's painted the same color
for an
as the
extra
exterior of your car,
Right.
and the Porsche crest on the valve stems, and.
So I find this car. It was MSRP at 110, and so I call up there, and Carl, great guy, very nice on the phone, and I had a few questions just to make sure it had like heated seats and stuff,
Yeah,
and just to
we're
feel it
not
out.
going to totally suffer.
Right. No, had to have that.
Barbarians. What do you think we are?
So he invited me up to have a cup of coffee out of their $10,000 coffee espresso machine. And so I did just that. I went up there last Wednesday, and my girlfriend and we got a little dressed up. I had the Silverado, the new Silverado, and I mean, everybody's got a truck,
Really
right? Everyone has a truck.
profiling.
You
So
have to tow your race car to the track,
What do you
right?
go in it? What do you tell them?
Well, you know what?
Because you don't tell them you're from Consumer Reports.
No, and that was a challenge. I mean, I was a little nervous driving up there. I'm like, I don't really know how I'm going to wing this. And you get a little intimidated by Porsche and these high, these executives walking in and out of these places, not me, And I had a black eye at the time. I got caught with an elbow playing soccer, so I have a black eye. I'm 27 years old, and I walk in there, and Carl took me right in. I thought I was going to be shut down quickly. And he took me right in. I actually had a hot chocolate because I don't drink coffee.
Was it have marshmallows?
Yes, the machine was incredible. I will say, it was.
As good
It
as
wasn't
cars.
actually theirs. It was a trial.
Testing, $10,000 machine for next coffee test.
Right. Yeah, it was insane. So, and my girlfriend was all excited. So she was running around having coffee, and it was fun. And Carl, he was great. He finally got down to it. I was like, are you really looking to buy a car today? And I'm like, yeah. I made up this story. And it was actually like a fantasy, I guess, in my head. I was like, I came into some money, and this is a dream. This is a dream come true. I've always, and I'm passionate about 911s. I love them. So I actually already knew a lot about the car. So, and he could tell that I knew that, and I wasn't just, I wasn't asking for a test drive.
You're not wasting his time.
Yeah, I don't want to test drive. If I was walking in there asking for a test drive, they would start raising some red flags.
Sure.
And that never came up once actually. So and we worked out a deal. I ended up getting it for 107 and change. And
so they got some money off.
Yeah.
I'm sure they still made plenty of profit to pay for the lease and the coffee machine.
Yeah. And I was the third car he sold that day. It was a good day for him. So,
Wow.
Yeah.
So it makes sense for car dealers to be nice to people.
Yeah, well, that's just it. And he said, he's like, I don't know, you could be a zillionaire when you walk through the door. You were wearing rags, and that's what it was.
Which is a stark contrast to some cars I bought. I know probably for you as well. You go in a dealer and the guy's got a split up on the.
I looked old when I was 27.
Well, but still, I've been old since I was 15. I'm crotchety, almost as bad as you.
Bald 17.
But I remember going and buying a Cadillac CTS, the last generation, and guys with feet on the desk not wanting to give me time of the day.
Really?
And it's. There's a complaint about the domestic industry, and sometimes it is that. It's that stereotype, and it's how the manufacturers have influence on the dealerships because they don't own them, and they, there's a lot of state rules.
Yeah.
But you know what? Porsche has a certain attitude for their dealerships to follow it.
Right.
But you did well with it.
I did. It was an awesome experience. It really was. I mean, I'll never get to go with my own money and buy my own 911 for 110 grand in my lifetime. Probably.
I don't know if this podcast takes off.
Right. Well, maybe, but I doubt that. So that it was a neat experience, and it was awesome. I mean,
we just bought the car, so we don't have a lot of experience with it. I have driven it briefly. It's fantastic.
It's fun.
You drove it yesterday.
I drove it yesterday, and I wanted to drive the Corvette back to back with it, and the Corvette wasn't here. And it's one of those things where taking the Corvette around, you're really aware of the brute horsepower. You're really aware that it's just like, you're kind of pulling back the reins to keep it.
It's a more delicate car.
The 911's more delicate, but it just at first gave me a little more confidence going into some of the turns. I want to do a back-to-back
And
stint
we're not beating on these cars yet because they're
the break-in miles. I don't know if the lugs were torqued properly. I don't know what the tire inflation was. It's not. But it just feels a little more attached.
Yep.
And and I've driven the Z06 at Road America. I've driven it at Laguna Seca. I mean, I've driven that car around. So I'm comfortable with the Corvettes. The 911, really easy to drive.
Well, that Z06 has a reputation of being a bit
snap oversteer,
a bit
pro.
exciting.
Yeah. But still, it's a beast and fun, and you're just walk by cars on the straightaway.
Yeah.
You mentioned the Cadillac CTS, and although we're talking about sports cars, I'm going to end talking about the cars in this episode on a four-door sedan that wishes it was a sports car. Yeah. I did the deal on our Cadillac CTS, the one that we actually bought, not the awesome V Sport.
That was fun.
That was damn fun. I mean, I had an easy buying experience. Again, I did it all online. More important though, we said in that earlier podcast that we're kind of worried, because along with all the other journalists, we drove a V Sport, the top trim for now before they come out with the CTS V, which I have no idea what they're going to do for that car because the V Sport's
that's such a great car.
V Sport is so good. But the normal CTS, it's a joy to drive.
Yeah.
I drove it last weekend, and again, an insight into the exciting life of Thomas.
Let's have it.
There we go. Here we go. My wife. These stories all begin my wife and I. My wife and I went out to dinner, and I actually put on a jacket and stuff. And,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We took the CTS, and it was kind of a dark, rainy night. Went to a nice restaurant. You know what? It felt nice. I love driving the car. It is secure in the rain. It's fun on the road. It is a damn good looking car. That front light signature, you pull into the parking lot and people look at you. I mean, I'm 42 and I want to buy a Cadillac, and that's crazy.
You just made Cadillac marketing extremely happy. Okay, someone just got very excited about hearing.
Even as a 27-year-old, that car it's awesome. It's just sport. It's got a sporty feel to it, but it's not over the top, and it's a practical 4-door car. You know, I can throw my parents in the back seat, and it's no problem.
Now, again, as doubting Thomas,
Okay.
the back seat isn't the greatest in this class, even with the longer wheelbase of this current.
Puts people more inboard, so
Yeah,
it's really only
you
for two.
sort of fit in the
Really
pit.
for two.
I hate Q.
Oh, yeah.
God.
No, yeah.
But you know what? I
Seems
will,
like it's a little quicker, a little better.
It works a little
response.
better.
They've
Marginally.
fine-tuned
Yeah,
it.
it's only
Yeah.
a little.
Now, I mean, at Consumer
They had a
Reports,
low starting point.
it is. I mean, at Consumer Reports, we're all about take the information, make a decision. But I would take the information, if the back seat says so, Q kind of sucks. I'd still buy this car. Because there is something to be said for a car that you get in every day.
Yeah.
Every time you go. If I go to the store, it feels good. I go to the dump, well, not with
tow
much
it.
stuff.
Yeah.
I used the Durango for that.
I drove it for a couple days, had it on our trip down to Yonkers, then around the Yonkers, Tarrytown area, then back up to our test track in Connecticut. And it was great, really super comfortable, great seats. The best seats I've driven in a long while because you could really adjust the front end low, which I like for my back and for my support. Easy to drive. I wish it had a 7-speed. I wish it had a transmission.
Well, an 8-speed. I mean,
Well, or
the
an
rear
8,
drive. The rear drive one has an 8-speed.
Yeah, right.
The V Sport has an 8-speed. The all
This one is
drive.
the
We have an all drive, so
6.
it's a 6.
Yeah, and the transmission I think is letting down this drivetrain, but I like the fact that it doesn't have the super display like our XTS. Bigger sedan had with
that
the
display
configurable display
crazy.
and the stuff moves and it's at an odd angle, which it looks almost canted away from you. It has a very much more simple display with a
But
couple
it looks a bit
couple
like an old
features.
Pontiac Sunbird display. That's what the interweb say.
Yeah,
They
it's got some
They should
weird.
shut up and drive the car, but yeah.
But the car drives really well.
Yeah, the car-
and it's,
the car drives
It's
great.
quiet. It's
It is quiet.
It's roary when you want it to be though. If you really
Yeah,
want to get
even,
onto
even with
it.
the base 3.6,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, I like this. I'll put it this way. It's what the 5 Series should want to be. The 5 Series BMW should buy a couple of these and figure it out because this car leaps over the 5 Series. It's certainly far sportier, more enjoyable than an E for me. And it's, it's going to push
Mercedes
the
E-Class.
Mercedes-Benz E-Class, excuse me. And then it's really going to push the Audi A6.
Yeah, it
I
does.
think that's a serious contender for
we'll-
top of
That's
the,
saying a lot.
top of
The
the ratings.
A6 was a.
the A6
That's
was a
A6.
fun car.
Yeah.
But it's impressive what this CTS is doing on relatively little 17-inch wheels.
Right,
and
yeah.
tires. So we've gone really long on this episode, but dude, sports cars.
We love sports cars.
Sports cars are great. Next episode, we're going to try something different. We're going to talk to Ryan's boss. We're going to talk about tires. A whole episode just talking about tires. This one's been fun. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for listening.